Hello guys, Winston here. You might remember the California and New Jersey plaques I made for a friend a couple months ago. I had a lot of fun making them, but a couple of my friends were just a tiny bit jealous that they didn't get one too. So in the spirit of the holidays, I decided to revisit this project in two ways. Since I was never really thrilled with the improvised whitewash I did on the original plaques, and jealous friend number 1 suggested a rustic theme, I decided to change up how I did the backboard. The first half of the project remained the same. Cut out the profile of California in walnut with a heart-shaped pocket where my friend lived. In this case, San Diego. Then cut out a heart piece as an inlay from oak. I did these on the Nomad using the recommended feed rates in Carbide Create, which are pretty darn slow, but they also leave a really great surface finish. After they were cut out, I glued in the inlay. Subjectively, my press fit was a little easier this time than when I made these pieces on the Shapeoko. They're held to tighter tolerances, so it's what I'd expect, not that the results from the Shapeoko were bad by any means. I sanded everything flush and then added a couple coats of spray lacquer to finish up this part. Then I started on the backboard. I cut out some pine boards to about 10 inches in length, then set them up outside. I wanted to go over them with a torch because the charring accentuates the grain of the wood in a very interesting but natural way. Plus, it saves me from having to reach into my box of painting supplies. It took me a couple tries because the wind kept blowing out my torch, but I eventually got a healthy amount of darkening on my boards. I gave them a light sanding to take off the really burnt bits. Using a little double-sided tape to conveniently elevate my pieces for painting, I brushed on a single coat of water-based polyurethane. This brought out a surprisingly rich color in the wood, though I wish it was a bit more muted. In my opinion, it competes a little too much with the California cutout for attention, but that's a mental note I'll file away for next time. I glued together my pine boards, screwed on the California cutout, and added hanging hardware. Boom, variant 1 done. I had another friend who really liked the idea of a stake cutout in wood, and since I'd used my walnut from the California project efficiently, I thought I'd punch out a pocket-sized piece for her from my leftover material. Knowing she'd recently moved 600 some odd miles from home and was living in a Spartan apartment decorated literally only by a Christmas tree, I thought I'd do a Georgia piece for her to hang on said tree. I'd previously cut out a couple extra hearts in oak just for such an occasion, so the only thing I had to do was download an SVG of Georgia, add my heart pocket, and cut it out. When I was setting up my CNC job though, I screwed up the depth of cut so I didn't actually cut through the wood. I was short by over a 1/16 of an inch. I went at it from the other side with a random orbit sander. It was basically the thickest example of onion skin work holding ever. After that, press fit in the heart, sand it flush, and finish with spray lacquer. Now, I was debating how I'd prepare this piece to be hung. I didn't want to drill a hole through the front since that would mar its otherwise perfect appearance, and I didn't have any eye hooks either. Fortunately, after digging through my box of random supplies, I realized I had some chainmail rings that I could MacGyver a solution with. I bent a ring into a U shape, drilled out a pair of close-fit holes to match, and hammered in my improvised D-ring. I found that there was enough friction that I didn't need to glue the wire in, which was great, because if my friend ever gets tired of hanging this piece as an ornament, she can just pull out the wire and use it as a paperweight or something. Really easy to make, and I hope she likes it. And that completes my revisit of this project. I know it's a relatively short video, but I was rushing to finish these before Christmas. Now you are absolutely free to take this idea and run with it, but I'm going to be doing something new moving forward. For projects that I think I've mastered, perhaps foolishly so, I'll be putting up a limited number of examples on Etsy. For the odd viewer here or there who doesn't have the means to fabricate their own version of one of my projects, or to a lesser extent if you just want to support me in some way, you'll be able to buy something in my store. Again, assuming I feel like I've worked out all the kinks in the production of a given project. Don't expect everything to show up in the storefront. Also, for any of you who might want to support my projects and keep my workshop out of the red, I decided to make a Patreon page. I'm more than happy to keep making projects at a loss, but with a little more financial liberty, I'm hoping to be able to invest in higher quality materials for my projects. Like something better than the crappy plywood and pine boards that I've been getting from Home Depot. I want to thank you all very much for joining me on my CNC adventure, and I'll see you guys in 2017.